Okay. Hi. Welcome here to my very first YouTube knitting podcast video episode. My name is Caitlin. I'm coming to you today from a very sunny but very cold Boston metro area. I'm located in Massachusetts in the States. And yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. And I've really kind of put it off and off, and it's now December 31st, and I want to do my whole what I've made in 2025. I think that would be a nice way to introduce myself, to just go through everything that I've done this past year. And I'm gonna have to do it in a bit of a hurry because, I do tend to procrastinate, and so as I said, it's New Year's Eve. I have to leave in about an hour and a half to go down to some family for the holiday. So, but it's good. It just means I'm just gonna focus, get this done, and yeah, we're here for the ride. So, let's see. I am gonna be going a lot off my memory. So I will put the names of the patterns, the designers, the yarns I use, all of that up on the screen or down in the description box below. So I don't know, we'll see. This is going to be kind of a memory test for me. We'll see how well I do. I think what I have here next to me is 6 garments. I knit 8 garments in total this year. And when I say knitting this year, like casting off, I've knit on more things than what I'm going to show you, but what I've cast off in 2025 were 8 garments. 2 of them I don't have here. I have some bad pictures that I can pop up as well, but I don't have them physically here to show you. I knit, I think, a couple scarves, one of which isn't here, and a headband accessory. Yeah, when I was kind of pulling everything together, and looking at my Ravelry, which used to be better, that's what it looked like I did this year. So, yeah, I will not be doing it in any sort of chronological order. And so we'll see what I remember. I'll make note of things as we go. I will try things on, I guess, so I'm gonna look probably really crazy at the end of this because I have no idea what I look like right now. So we're just flying in the dark. But I am just wearing a bodysuit from Abercrombie and Fitch, tank top, so it should be relatively easy to put things on. I'm wearing high-waisted jeans, which is also what I normally wear. What I'm wearing now, if you've noticed, and you're wondering, it's actually the last thing I cast off in 2024, and it's the Korshavn cardigan by, I think, Tanya something, Scandinavian designer. It's a DK, it's made for a DK weight yarn. It's a basket weave pattern, as you'll see, maybe from where I'm sitting or from the pictures. Knits and pearls and some yarn overs. I originally planned to knit it only in this yarn, which is Spin Cycles Metamorphic, in their colorway 46. That sounds, it's ringing a bell to me. It's this marled green, lighter and darker green. It's super washed by nature because it's their yarn that's made from mill ends. And the first time I knitted up in a different textured pattern, solo, and I didn't like how it looked at all. Yeah, I don't know, it's their mill ends, so there's a lot of superwash, I guess, or at least some superwash in the yarn, and so it just doesn't have the best feel for me. I tend to really only knit with natural fibers. That's my preference anyway. if I'm knitting for myself. So what I ended up doing is that I changed the pattern to this pattern, and I blended this with this. So these two together make this fabric. And this is some of my favorite yarn, honestly. And it's precious to me because they don't make it anymore. Super fluffy. It's Purl Soho's Broom. Very soft, very fluffy, a nice kind of moody green color. And they discontinued this yarn, which makes me very sad. Whenever I see people selling it on Ravelry, I buy it. So it's hard for me to use the yarn, which is kind of silly, but because it is very limited in what I have, I can't get it anymore. So if you have some and you're going to sell it, I will buy it from you. This yarn, the Broom, I'll tell you the composition. It's 58% mohair, 25% wool, and 17% silk. So yeah, I don't know, to me it's a very unique composition of yarn, and I really, really like it. Yeah, I'm very pleased overall with the garment. I decided not to put buttons on it. I don't really close my cardigans. This is actually also the first and only cardigan I've ever knit. And I decided not to put buttons on it. I don't know, it stays on. I don't feel fidgety in it. Maybe I do fidget in it, but I don't feel fidgety when I wear it. It's not falling off my shoulders or anything. It gets close, but not enough, not enough that it bothers me, I guess, or that I even am aware of it. So anyways, enough about that. But that's what I'm wearing. All right, let's see. I guess I will start off a little chronologically, and I'll show you the first sweater I cast off in 2025, which was this guy here, the Oba sweater. And I can't remember who designed this. Danish designer, half Danish, half Korean, I believe. Maybe it'll come to me, maybe it won't, but it'll be on the screen. This was, or is, I should say, a herringbone design. It's raglan. Start top down with the collar, and then, yeah, you just go, go, go. For me, actually, it wasn't go, go, go. This was a real labor of love, especially before splitting for sleeves. You have to look at a front chart and a sleeve chart, and while you're thinking, well, can't you just read your knitting and then you know what you need to do next? You really can't, because it's herringbone, so it doesn't meet in a triangle. It's I don't know, like they don't ever meet. So yeah, what I had to do is put stitch markers in for every repeat, and then I was able, that definitely helped a lot, so that I wasn't, doing too many in one color and having to tink back. But I don't know, it was a slog, to be honest. What I knitted in, I'm gonna put this over my head first. Do I look crazy already, guys? We'll see. I knitted in Nutiden by Honor och Air. It's that unspun yarn from Sweden. This is what I'll say. So the main color is, I think, like grass green in English. And I love this green. I used to, when Nutiden first kind of came out, I was immediately obsessed with it, and I would buy like something from every collection because yeah, it's one of those released once and never released again yarns. And so the whole idea of scarcity and not being able to get my hands on things, I would just like constantly buy it. But thankfully I got out of that habit and that practice because it's not necessary. And now it is more easily accessible and people sell their stash on Ravelry and everything. But I definitely jumped and bought a lot of this color because I'm a green girly. So green is my favorite color. And it's just such a beautiful green. It has a lot of copper flecks in it. So that's the main color, held double. And then the contrast color, it's just a bunch of ends, and it's actually three strands of just really light Nutiden colors. I mean, you can't really tell. In some cases, maybe you can see where I've added blue, like some bands might be more blue, but it was just random, and they all have a very similar low contrast, low color feel to them. The green is a lot thicker than these, so I held this triple and the green double. And yeah, so that's this. This took forever. So I cast it off in 2025, but I basically knit it all of 2024. I have a problem with not being able to knit things oversized. I really tried to go for the oversized long vibe that's in the picture of the designer, whose name I still can't remember. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not gonna get up on the chair or anything like that, but I would say it comes below my high-waisted pants, but I don't know, it's not that long, but I wear it a lot. The only thing, you know, it's wonderfully warm. The only thing I will say that I don't really like about it is this neckline. Like, okay, I'm wearing it, I don't know what it looks like, it doesn't feel bad, but I noticed that when I put it on, I don't know, it's just kind of like dumpy looking, I'm gonna say. It's like schlumpy. It's in between, I think, not having enough structure where it can just kind of stay up as a nice mock neck, and having no structure where it has a nice kind of floppy cowl thing going on. So it's just like this in-between stage. It also feels a little wide to me. As I said, it's knit top down. So I don't know, I've toyed with the idea of like cutting the neckline and then just knitting it up, or just adding more yarn and turning it into a big cowl. That might also solve another problem, which I don't know if it's visible now, but I notice it in some angles when I put it on, that there's like a weird kind of bubble that will form here in the fabric, and I don't know if it's because, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's tight or too big or anything, but I don't know, something maybe with the increased rate going on in the front. At times I notice that it doesn't really lay flat. It's a raglan construction. You do the raglan stitches, as you can see, in purls. Maybe you can't see, but that's what it is, and I would not do that again. I did it just to kind of try it out and follow the pattern, but I don't like it. I would do it in knit stitches. Kind of like how she Ego Knits. That's the designer. Kind of like how Ego Knits has you do this, it's a slip stitch, I think. Or maybe, no, it's not slipped, it's just a regular knit, but it's like a column of knit stitches in the contrast color. And I really like how that looks, and I would just have done this on the raglans, and then it also would just be more uniform and I think prettier. As you can see, or maybe you can't see, but I can see, it's definitely pilling. And yeah, I probably should get out a razor and shave it. But it's also just a very hairy sweater, but it could use a good depilling. But I love it, super warm. It's pretty oversized for me, even though it's not as oversized as it could or should be. And yeah, totally happy that I have this sweater. I would never knit it again. And I would have a hard time recommending the pattern. Again, not because of how it's written or anything, but for me it was a slog, and I don't know. I think if you want the product, you have to really want it. And I don't want another one, but I do love having this one. So I am very happy about that. Okay, so that was the first thing I cast off, 2025. Second thing, maybe I am gonna end up going in chronological order, is this guy here. This is the Chaika, Chaika by Knit Cafe Midori Hirose. I also love this one. I don't wear it as much simply because it is more of a transitional seasonal garment. But I do love it. And I don't know, she's got fun patterns. This did not take me long. It's at a super big gauge. I probably used 6mm or 6.5mm needles, US 10-ish. And that's holding a fingering weight yarn with a mohair. Yeah. And the collar is actually just a single strand or well, it's either single stranded or double stranded of just the mohair. The mohair is Wandering Flock in her neon coral color. Coral or peach, but I think it's coral, neon coral. And then I held that with Purl Soho's Linen Quill. I can't remember the color. I feel like this might be peach and then this might be coral, something like that. And this was the first time knitting with this. Great combination. At a bigger gauge, the stitches aren't super neat, but it doesn't bother me. It feels really beautiful. It's a great transitional. I like to wear it in the spring. Yeah, and you know, very interesting construction. Top down, you start with the collar, and you do so many short rows in this collar. Yeah, I think it's in the collar. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I don't know. There's so many short rows going on that by the time you're done with the short rows, you're basically about to connect under the arms. Really pretty. You know, here's where you're doing your increases. On the top of the shoulder here. Very interesting construction. I'm not sure if I modified it, to be honest. I probably did the sleeves a little bit differently. I tend to, in general, make shorter sleeves. So I-cord edge here, and then of course you could see this is like generous if I call it bracelet length. But yeah, I tend to like shorter sleeves. You know, something that comes up to my wrist bones, really at most. Yeah, I guess maybe that's all I'll say about this, just to kind of keep things going a little bit, because nothing's really popping off in my mind as something I want to share. I would make this again. Loved the pattern and loved the 2 yarns I used. And yeah, fun process, lovely product. Okay. Let's see, I guess I'll talk about this one next. It's the Crown of Roses. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. The Crown of Roses sweater by a person, I don't know her name. I'm not familiar with her as a designer, and I don't know really if I've looked at other things that she's designed. I don't remember how I came across this pattern. I really couldn't tell you, but I mean, I do find it very striking. I love color work. I would say that overall I'm like a color work girly as well. And yeah, I had a vision and I wanted the sweater. So I used Spin Cycle for this. Please excuse, I didn't make these sweaters pretty for you. But yeah, I used Spin Cycle in 2 different colorways. One of them is their Nocturne base, which is their non-superwash barber pole sport weight yarn, and then which is the green, the background, and then the purpley pink is called Kyoto, and that's just their regular dyed in the wool line, but it's their monochromatic fade. So the roses are nice because they have dimensionality in their colors. Yeah, they shift ever so slightly, which I think is a nice effect, and so it's not flat against the Spin Cycle Nocturne. The Spin Cycle Nocturne color, I believe, is called Snakeskin. And I usually don't make 3/4 or short sleeve sweaters, but I ended up doing it for this, and yeah, it's fine. I really love the look of it. Here are the yarns. I still have a significant amount left of this because I was going to make long sleeves, and actually I did make long sleeves and I ripped them out. As I don't color manage when I use Spin Cycle because I don't know, maybe I would at some point, but I haven't felt the need to yet. And the problem that I came across with this, I don't think could really be helped. It would require a lot of yarn management, and I wasn't about to do that because, obviously the color transitions a lot faster on the body because there are so many stitches in the round that the new colors come out pretty quickly. But that's not the case for the sleeves because, yeah, math. So I just found that I didn't like the look of the long sleeve color transition with the body transition. It was just something that, yeah, it just bothered me enough that I decided to just rip it out and make it a shorter sleeve, which is fine because I find color-wise this is very springy, and color-wise and I guess pattern-wise. So again, it's a nice spring knit. What can I say about the knitting process? It was okay, I guess. It was the first time I ever did, I do a lot of round color work yoke sweaters. This was the first time I ever did one where the increases, I guess you'd call it like a wedge. So I think that kind of created, I don't know what it looks like. I can't see what I look like, but some bubbling, yeah, I don't know, it created some bubbling, which was not my favorite. I had to carry a lot of floats. I did a lot of ladder back jacquard as well. And I didn't like how the color work chart was visualized in the pattern. I like it when, you start off, the repeat that you're looking at has maybe 4 stitches and all 4 of those stitches are next to each other, and then as the increases come, the chart just gets bigger. This pattern though, the chart is as wide as the final stitch count after all the increases in the yoke. And so those 4 stitches at the beginning, there could be 5 stitches in between them, you know, it just, so it wasn't easy to read the chart in that sense. You know, I couldn't just be like, oh, I have 3 green and 4 purple, then 2 green, you know, it wasn't, it required, I had to constantly go and like get my finger out and like count across these empty spaces that hadn't yet been filled with the increased stitches. I hope that makes sense. So visually it wasn't easy to read. Yeah, in addition to having to carry in ladder back jacquard. I don't mind doing that, but definitely not a first colorwork pattern recommendation. And it will feel tedious. For me, at least it did. But again, I think the effect is worth it. I still would recommend it, but just know that going in, you know, you're working for this. It's not just gonna fly off the needles, or at least for me, it didn't. I think that's all I want to say about this. I could show you my floats and my ladder back jacquard. Yeah, so I mostly was able to just carry the floats, especially you can see that more clearly down here. And then there's just a few places where I had to ladder back jacquard, you know, which again, just more ladder back jacquard. So it was a mix, but worth it. Yeah, so that's that. Let's see, I guess I have this one in my lap, so I'll do it next. I did make a ranunculus last year. My first summer ranunculus. I have one that I made many years ago. That's a winter one. But this is my first summer one, and I just pulled it out of my summer suitcase where I store all my summer stuff, so it's creasy. This is, yeah, knit obviously not on gauge, so I had to kind of go in between sizes. Yeah, I had to make up my own size essentially, because I knit this on a fingering weight yarn. This is Purl Soho Santolina, which, yeah, I think as a summer yarn, it's nice. It's not super, well, is it light? I feel like it feels light. Yeah, I'd say it's light. I mean, maybe it wouldn't feel light if I knit it at its, I guess it's a sport weight. It's 328 yards and 100 grams. Maybe it would feel kind of heavy if I knit it at its recommended 26-28 stitch gauge. It's 70% cotton, 20% rayon from bamboo, and 10% hemp. And I would say it feels like you're knitting with that. Like, it feels a little ropey. There's really not a lot of stretch or anything to it. You know, it's very drapey. And I do like it. Like, I bought more to make something else, which I may end up ripping out. I've been working on it, but that'll be in a whip video. Yeah, so I use this yarn. It is really good on a hot summer day. I like it enough, what I did. Because I knit it off gauge, the one thing that I'm not really sure about, you know, the way you do this pattern, again, top down, round yoke. And then of course, what I think makes it so fabulous and what I incorporate in a lot of other patterns, and she does it in her others, this is also Knit Cafe Midori Hirose, is after the round yoke doing some raglan increases. And so I just did more raglan increases to account for the difference that my stitch and row gauge, you know. So I did that, and if I had just, you know, I tend to like 8 inches. I think I did a little bit more because I wanted it to be something I could wear on super hot days where it wouldn't be, you know, up in my pits. But then what I did, and where I think I erred, was that I then cast on 10 stitches for the underarm, again, my own doing. And like now when I put it on, I kind of wish that those 10 stitches weren't there, and then it would be a more perfect garment, because it is a little wide under the armpit. You can definitely see the shirt and like my bra if I'm just doing that, but I don't know. I think for like, I like it, I wear it. It's not something I put on every day in the summer, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you could tell it's not like a top knit or anything. Yeah, what else can I say? A million people have knit this. I can't really add anything to the conversation. Overall, I guess what I could say is that hi Pupwires. Oh, here's my puppy. Wanna come up? What I could maybe say is that I do like it as the yarn combination. So I could recommend knitting a summer one in the Santolina yarn if you want to play around with making your own gauge. And this is my Poppers. It's my doggy Siska. Hi baby. You come up to say hi? Okay. Oh. Okay. I guess let's just go into the fail. I actually forgot about this one completely when I was gathering all of my sweaters, because it's just a fail. You might not think so when you look at it. It's all over bottom up colorwork Fair Isle, I guess, vest called the Academic Vest by Skandir Knits. First time I steeked. So I did a crochet, I reinforced the steeks with crochet, cut them open. Yeah, so love this. I had a really fun time putting together all the colors. The majority of them are Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and I used 3.5 millimeter needles. I really love the density of the fabric. But the problem is it's too small. Like it's just way too small. So I didn't even bother doing anything with the ends because I can't wear it. So I don't know. I have to find somebody smaller that maybe I can gift it to, because there's nothing wrong with it. It just, I can't wear it. I'll put it, yeah. I don't even feel like putting it on. Just believe me. Like it has to, and it's one of those things, that's the thing, right? Like I couldn't know this until I steeked it. I guess I could have known by putting on the tube at the bottom, but I feel like I did that, and I'm not very busty at all. Like there's really not a big difference between, I mean, there like maybe there's, I don't know, my waist is 28, my bust with a bra is 36, okay, so it's not insignificant, but I'm not busty, like, yeah. So I thought I could make it work. I thought I could block it, that it wouldn't really have a lot of ease, which would have been fine, but it's stretched. I can get it on, but it's just so stretched, like that the stitches look tortured. So it's not wearable. Really fun pattern though. And it really didn't take long. That's the only saving grace, is that it really only, yeah. I don't knit on things monogamously, but and I did change the pattern a little bit, I should say that as well. She has, as you see, what I did is that, this big motif is the same throughout, and she does have this motif, but then it's alternated with a different motif, which is a little more geometric, and I liked the more florally, softer, organic shape better. But you just do like 2 motifs and you're already, you're beyond sleeve separation, like 1.5 motifs and you're separating for sleeves. It's bottom up I did a provisional cast on to then go back and knit the ribbing down because I'm very long-waisted. Like to get a regular length sweater on me from the underarm, I have to knit like 10 inches before I start 2 inches of ribbing. I don't know, for me that's long-waisted. So I didn't want to gamble on that end, so I did a provisional cast on and then knit down, and I think the ribbing looks really messy and wavy. I also did a sewn bind off. It's, you know, it doesn't look good. It's wavy. I would not recommend doing an Italian sewn bind off on woolen spun yarn, and I won't again. But yeah, so this was I think like my really true only fail this year. Yeah, I just need to find someone tiny to gift it to. Okay, anyways. I guess I'll talk about the other two sweaters that I knit that aren't here really quickly. I did the Leon sweater by Petite Knit, and my plan was for the first time to make a sweater for my partner. And so I bought the Leon Chunky, and I figured that would work well for him because he has more, I guess you would say his shoulders are a little bit, you know, you have square shoulders, which I think I have more, square with a little rounded end. I guess all shoulders round, but his are more slopey. So he doesn't like raglans. And yeah, I decided to try the Leon sweater because other podcasters had been talking about it. I'm thinking of Laurel from West Maven. She made a bunch of these sweaters last year, I think, for her kids, and you know, she talked about the construction being really fitting the shoulder nicely, because you're kind of, I guess, almost doing a saddle shoulder, but not in the traditional way. Like it does create its own unique little rectangle that goes over your shoulder, but you're not starting with that. You're starting with the back and then kind of going forward. So I decided I would try that pattern, and I bought the chunky version because that was a big gauge. I don't remember exactly, and I was going to use Nutiden yarn. Well, I did use Nutiden yarn for that, held double. But before committing to that, I bought the toddler size, and I like to do this a lot if I'm experimenting to a certain degree, is that I'll buy the child size pattern and then just make something for someone tiny, for a tiny human. So I bought the child size of the Petite Knit Leon patterns, and then I have all the superwash yarn in storage, and so I don't like to wear superwash anymore, but when I first started obsessively knitting, I've been knitting a long time. Like I've known how to knit for decades, but I only really got into knitting obsessively in like 2018, I want to say. And when I first became an obsessive knitter, I feel like Madeline Tosh was all the rage, and so I bought a lot of Madeline Tosh yarn, and then so now I have all this Madeline Tosh yarn, which I don't know, it's for kids. That's what I use it for now. I make like kids garments out of it. So I did that, and as you can see in my pictures that I'm hopefully posting, or in the picture that I have, the kids version, very colorful. I used a lot of the yarn, and it was fun. I liked making this sweater pattern, both the kids and the chunky, and yeah, I want to make one for myself, maybe 2026. It was a fast knit, the chunky, so I think I knit that mostly monogamously, but not entirely monogamously, in like about 2 months. So yeah, those are the two sweaters I don't have here. Would recommend the pattern for both. Okay, and then I don't know, this is in my lap, I guess I'll talk about it. I knit 2 Sophie shawls this year, not in the traditional way. So it's the Sophie Shawl pattern in that I did a Turkish cast on at the end, and then I think I did the way that the pattern does the pattern increase rate. But as you can see, it is not garter, it is half fisherman's rib. So I wanted to try it. I've never done anything in fisherman's rib before. And I looked up a tutorial online on YouTube, learned how to do it. All you do, you purl regularly, and then you knit in the stitch below, the one that's on the needle. Sounds weird. It works. Just try it. It's fine. And so it is, I think, one of those stitch patterns they say that takes twice as long to grow. I mean, this did kind of take a while. The way I measure mine is that, you know, this is before blocking. But for my wingspan, I usually try to knit at least, you know, halfway is too short, but I like to stop increasing when I get somewhere close to my shoulder. And then I start the decreases. And that's kind of where this is. So I did that, and I used Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. This is one of their singular colors called Fireball. It's a bright orange, and yeah, I never really thought I liked orange, but I think I do. So I used this as one of the colors, and then I striped in Spin Cycle Yarns Dream State in Castaway. And I still have one left. I bought these two yarns for a different project, and then I don't know, I just decided to switch it up and make this. I was actually, to be honest, I was inspired by a project I saw on Ravelry. Someone used a similar color scheme in one of Andrea Mowry's shawls. That's half fisherman's rib, and they used a similar color palette as this. Not her jaunty shawl. I started this before her jaunty shawl came out. And I was actually working on it when the jaunty shawl came out. And from what I can tell, the jaunty shawl is a Sophie shawl with half fisherman's rib. So buy the pattern and support Andrea Mowry, of course, if you want to. But if you already have the Sophie shawl and you want it in half fisherman's rib, just do that. That's what I did. Yeah, so this is the first Sophie shawl I made this year. I tend to wear them like this, which I think almost everybody does, but really warm. I really like it. I have no idea if it's zhuzhed properly, but you're bearing with me, so I appreciate that. Warm, lovely. I do wear it a lot. I knit another one, December was supposed to be my month where I was going to finish all of my other whips that I didn't finish this year. And I wasn't going to do any gift knitting this year, and then of course I ended up doing gift knitting. So I ended up making another Sophie shawl for one of my coworkers, but actually, I do have that. I don't have the scarf here, obviously, but I do have the yarns. So I'm sorry that can you see all sorry. I should make these things prettier. Maybe next time when I have more time to prepare. So Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the Amaranth colorway. So it's this bright red and a purpley red Barbara Pold. Then the other, what is this? Oh, this is BC Garn Bio Shetland. So it's a bit thinner. yarn than the Loft. And then their colorways are numbers, I think, so I don't know. And then to give it an extra oomph, I actually held it with 2 strands of this, and this is that Pearl Soho Broom, that coveted extra special broom yarn that I have in a different colorway that I don't know the name of. We'll see if it pops up in my mind. So I used 2 strands, 1 strand, 1 strand. So I used 7mm needles, 7 or 7.5mm needles on this scarf. And so December was a super busy month for me. I definitely still knit pretty much every day, at least a little bit. But I knit this up in like a week, which I know some people can knit these things on smaller needles in like a weekend, but I don't know how they do that. But it was a perfect kind of relatively last minute gift at that gauge. Yeah, and it was like a nice sturdy, it wasn't super open and open weaved or anything. It was, you know, even though it's these very lightweight yarns, it made a very hefty scarf. And I have to say she looks beautiful in it. So that was the second Sophie shawl I made. And then I'm not putting this on because I look crazy in it. I hope she looks good in it, but she probably will look great in it. Because she's got like huge fabulous hair, and black is a color that looks good on her, and it's the opposite for me. I just knit, which I don't know what you can really see, if you can see that twist, but I did a brioche twist headband thing for another coworker. This was a weekend knit. That was really nice. And you know, it's just this cute little turban style headband. So I still have this as a gift. I have to give it to her in the new year. But that was the other thing I made that I was able to cast off in December of this year. Another little accessory. Brooklyn Tweed Arbor is the yarn I used on 3.5mm needles in the color Kettle. It's just like they're black. All these Brooklyn Tweed yarns are discontinued, which makes me so sad. I actually really like this fabric. I have a lot of Arbor that I think I will, yeah, I'll have to figure out what to do with it, but. Okay, and then the last of the last is a sweater. This is my final sweater cast off in 2025. It was made with the last yarn purchase from 2024. I have always wanted to work with Woolfolk yarn, and then my local to me yarn store, it's a craft store, Gather here in Cambridge. They have the sale in between Christmas and New Year's, betwixtmas, I guess, where everything is 25% off, or most things were 25% off. And I was like, that you can twist my arm and I will do it. So I did it. I had been eyeing this yarn for a while. It's Woolfolk Far, and it's a blown chainette. Is it blown? I don't know if it's blown. It's definitely chainette, or all chainette yarns have a blown fiber in them. I'm not sure. But I am sure it's chainette. First time I've ever worked with a chainette yarn. It's very stretchy, not necessarily in a bad way. I'm a very tight knitter, so I think the way I hold my yarn, I knit continental, and I tension my yarn, hold my yarn in my left hand, and then I tension it with my pinky. I just realized I didn't do my nails. Oh my God. Anyway, It's too late now. I tension my yarn with my pinky, and so I think I tension my yarn a lot. And so with stretchy yarn, it gets really pulled taut when I'm knitting with it, and I was concerned that could be problematic, but it really wasn't. It's Superfine Merino, 142 yards and 50 grams. And yeah, recommended needle is 4 to 5 millimeter, and I used a 4.5, and I really liked that as a tension. It's color 18, which is this dusty mauve, light mauve color. And I bought a sweater's quantity. I still have this much left, so I have to figure out what to do with it. But I bought the yarn and immediately had to jump to the top of my queue because I didn't feel buyer's remorse, but I felt pressure to actually use it and not just have it sit in my stash because it is expensive, even at 25% off. So I decided to knit the Helia by Joanne Ang. That sweater has been on my radar for a long time. Yeah, and I decided that I would use this yarn for that because I think she recommends holding something with a strand of mohair, but this yarn has a beautiful halo in and of itself. It looks like you've held it with something when you haven't. So I just realized, you know, this could just be a good yarn to hold single because I'm not add anything to this sweater. So that's what I did. This was, I cast it on towards the beginning of 2025, but I just cast, you know, it's the last sweater I cast off this year, and that was sometime in November, I want to say. I do have a lot to say. Okay, where to begin? Overall, I think it's very beautiful. I'm very happy with it. Yeah. Of course, what is striking about it is the cabling along the sleeve. And that was actually a lot of fun. I chose this pattern because I've done a little bit of cabling, not too much. Like, I haven't cabled anything else this year. Yeah, I haven't. So, but I know how to cable. But I would eventually like to cable, like an all over cable sweater. I think that would be really beautiful. I do have plans for that. And so I figured I would start with this sweater because it's a lot of cabling and a lot of different types of cables, but just on the sleeves. So I was like, that's a good way to dip the toes in. And I actually really liked it. I had a lot of fun doing it. But I had to make a lot of modifications to this pattern. Okay, I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to go on too long about it, but top down, and then I realized after doing just the collar that where you cast on, the pattern has you cast on in the front, and I was like, no. So I had to change the beginning of the around there to, I think I just put it in the center back. So that was the first thing I changed. Yeah, just in terms of aesthetics. I didn't really like the idea of having my cast on being like in the center of my neck. So first thing I changed. Then I made a mistake, which you probably can't see, but I started doing the cables wrong, but only at the very beginning, so you can't tell. That's something I shouldn't even bother trying to explain to you. But where I ended up making the most changes is that in the pattern as written, this kind of twisted rib border here is actually all around the sleeve. And I realized, you know, I like a good juxtaposition of yeah, I like juxtaposition of things. It could be color-wise, patterns, architecture, whatever. But there was something about the hardness of the sleeve with all of that twisted rib and the cable, and then with just the stockinette body, that I realized once I really started looking at the pattern and people's pattern pictures that I didn't really like that much. So I decided that to do what I did here, which is just to kind of have a few rows or columns as a border, but then just to have the plain sleeve. But I didn't realize that would be a problem at first. Well, not a problem, but a complicating factor that I would have to adjust for, because in the pattern, these raglan, in between the raglan increases, this band here is actually all supposed to go on the sleeve when you separate for sleeves. And I was like, well, that can't work, because then I'm gonna have this weird stockinette and then this band. It just like couldn't happen. Maybe it could have, and I don't know. So no, it couldn't have happened. Yeah, I couldn't have just done that and then just knit and stockinette. It would have been very strange looking, because it would have been twisted and then gone into plain. So I had to circumvent that. So I ended up I made all of these just go onto the body, and then I had to cast on more stitches to compensate for that. And then what I did was I created this shaping here where I just had those raglan, that band here kind of twist into each other under the arm, and then yeah, that's how I accounted for that. I think in the pattern, I'm not sure if she has twisted rib going all the way down the side in the pattern. I don't think so. I don't know. The pictures will tell us. But that was another thing that I did differently. And then the last thing I did differently, because I didn't have all of the twisted rib on the sleeve, I couldn't do the sleeve decreases at the end the same way. So I had to kind of create my own sleeve. Yeah, so this is what I did. I could look really awkward in the camera. I ended up, I don't know. I don't even know what I did. I had to do those two sleeves basically right in succession. I wrote down on my Ravelry what I did. Essentially, yeah, just a lot of decreases and special types of double decreases and all this stuff. So yeah, my sleeves look very different than in the pattern. The yarn. So this was like a dream yarn for me. While I was knitting it in two different podcasts, one of them is Good Knits. She's a knitter based in Amsterdam, Canadian knitter in Amsterdam. I can't remember her name though. And then Michelle of Mishi Fraz Knits, Not the Worsted podcast on YouTube. They both went over their high and low yarn, like best and worst, favorite, least favorite. And literally both times I was working on this sweater, and both times they talked about how they didn't like the yarn that I was currently using. Like, this was a fail yarn for them. It's ultra fine merino. Ultimate merino wool. It's very, very soft. And it's chainette and whatever. And so they just talked about the integrity, the trade-off for that is the integrity of the wool. And yeah, I mean, that was like a downer to hear. Literally, I'm knitting on using this yarn, and they're talking about how they don't like it. They thought they would love it, and they don't like it. So in the end, do I agree with them? Yes and no. Wearing this now, it feels amazing. I probably look crazy, but I feel amazing. And hopefully the sweater looks good. It looks better if I have a white collar popping out, but hopefully it looks good as well. That it, I think it was a good match of yarn to pattern. But they are right. Like, I haven't really worn this that many times, and it's pilling a lot. You know, it's just starting to not look its best already. So that's the trade-off. I'm gonna glean it, and hopefully it will look amazing again. But yeah, we'll see. I haven't worn it that often. I am already noticing, yeah, the things of integrity that they mentioned. But I'll have to think about it for a little bit longer before I commit to either yes or no. Yeah, so this is my last sweater garment cast off in 2025. And yeah, all right. That's it. That's all I have to share. I have no idea how long I talked. I really hope this video is still recording. I do have plans already for new videos for next year. I want to carry you through the whips that I'm bringing into the new year that I want to finish. I do have some plans that I want to, for 2026, of things I want to make. Yeah, so you'll get to see a bit more, I think, coming into the new year with 3 or 4 whips. So I already have a lot on my plate with grand plans for more. So come back and yeah, continue to follow along. Say hi. Did I even tell you my name? I have no idea. I think I did. But anyways, introduce yourself to me. If you live, I'm Caitlin. I don't think I said that. Let me know where you're from. I'm curious if, you know, how this algorithm is gonna work. Who's gonna be watching? Are you from the greater Boston metro area? Let me know. Wherever you're from, I would love to know. Yeah, I guess subscribe. Do that thing where you subscribe and then you'll know when these next little videos come out. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Okay, thanks.